All right, today's an exciting day because today we have the Sony A7S III. Check it out. I'm sorry, what? We don't have the Sony A7S III? Okay. Well, that's a bummer. What's going on, everyone? Alex here, and welcome back to another episode of Cheers to Gear, where I sit down, crack open a beer, and we talk about everything related to film and photography gear. Today, we are talking about the Sony A7S III, and I've got to apologize for that opener. I don't have an A7S III. I'm just a guy with like 450 subscribers. They're not gonna send me a A7S III, but we are going to discuss the A7S III today. We're gonna talk about whether or not I think it's a good camera for filmmakers, and whether or not I think it's just a good camera overall. And if I myself am gonna pick up the A7S III. So stick around for the whole video and find out. Do I think the A7S III is a good camera? I was absolutely floored by Sony's announcement of the A7S III, and the specs are, wow. That's a very impressive list of specs, if I do say so myself. Kudos to you, Sony. You outdid yourself. The fact that it can shoot 4K full frame all the way up to 60 frames per second, 4K at 120 frames per second, with a slight crop of 1.1x, I believe, so negligible, and it can shoot 10-bit 422 internally. I mean, that checks all the boxes. This whole resolution race needs to slow down. You've got the R5 that shoots 8K RAW internally. You have the S1H from Panasonic, which shoots, I think, 6K. And then you have the Blackmagic Ursa Mini that shoots 12K. I mean, come on, guys. Slow down. Has 2 card slots. You can take SD cards and CF Express. They give you that choice. That's amazing. And I know a lot of people aren't excited about the flip screen. They think it's just for vloggers, but I have to disagree. I think it's incredibly beneficial for filmmakers. You have the ability to shoot high and low and just angle that screen just right and get the shot that you're looking for.
Well, you're the first guy who gets it. Well, I want you to know I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you're doing a hell of a job.
Well, thank you.
I think a lot of people, when they do pick up this camera, are gonna quickly realize, how did they go so long without having a flip screen? It's a win-win. It don't overheat. It doesn't overheat. That's what I hear, anyways, on the YouTubes. I wouldn't know. But do I think this camera is good for filmmakers? Yes and no. Yes, in the fact of everything I just said before, and no in the fact that it's still a hybrid camera. And if you're okay with that, if you're okay with absolutely rigging this camera out, then sure. I mean, it's gonna be a good camera for filmmakers. It has fantastic dynamic range, 15 plus stops, especially if you're shooting an S-Log3. And the fact that it has 10-bit 422 now, you can shoot S-Log3, because before S-Log3 with 8-bit, no, not gonna work. And when I say rig it out, I mean you have to rig it out to utilize it to its full potential. It's still gonna have a tiny flip out screen, so you're gonna need an external monitor if you really wanna just nail that image. The battery life, while better, you're going to need an external battery pack to fully utilize this camera if you are going to rig it out. Potentially getting a cage for the camera, which I would recommend if you're gonna rig this camera out. With all those little things combined to rig out the A7S III, I mean, the price just starts going up exponentially, and at that point, I wouldn't recommend it to filmmakers. I just wouldn't. I mean, you have the Pocket 6K, which is $2,000, and then you rig that camera out. It probably wouldn't even hit the price of the A7S III, which is $3,500. I don't think it would get to that point. So me personally, I would recommend the Pocket 6K for filmmakers. So am I gonna be getting the A7S III? No. I used to run with the Sony gang. I had the A7S and the A7S II, and they were fun cameras, but ultimately they just became a big hindrance in my workflow. There's little things about the cameras that they were annoying. They were just annoying. I mean, for instance, battery life on those cameras were abysmal. I had to carry around like 6 or 7 of those Sony batteries. When I had the A7S II, when I would shoot 4K, right when I hit record, that screen just dimmed, and it was just, you couldn't see it. So if you were outside, good luck seeing that screen, because I couldn't. The fact that it had IBIS in the A7S II, I mean, they called it IBIS, but I mean, it was bad, so bad. And ultimately the color science. The color science was awful. I hated coloring. I would spend hours trying to get the A7S and the A7S II to look the way that I was thinking and how I wanted it to look. It just wasn't working. And I know people out there are probably gonna say, I have the A7S II and I color grade it and it looks fine, and I believe you. I totally believe you, and I'm not saying your footage looks terrible, but for me personally, I couldn't get the image to where I wanted it. So I ultimately sold the A7S II and upgraded to C100 Mark II. I have a video on that up here. And while it didn't shoot 4K, that 1080p that came out of the camera was phenomenal. Color was great, and it was just fun. It was a fun camera to use. I absolutely loved it. It opened up so many doors for me professionally, and I haven't looked back. I have not looked back. The A7S III, while it is a fantastic camera with amazing specs and improved color science, will I be picking one up? No, because I'm absolutely happy with the camera choices that I have. I have the Pocket 4K, which in my eyes is the perfect cinema camera for me personally. And I have the Canon EOS R, which takes amazing stills and really pretty good video. I've never been disappointed with the video from the Canon EOS R. So do I need a camera that does it all? Do I need a camera that has both stills and video? No, I don't. I don't need one camera to do it all. I think you should have a dedicated video camera and a dedicated stills camera. That's just my own opinion, but I think you need it to do the right jobs properly. But with that said, the Sony A7S III, I'm gonna raise my glass to you, Sony, because that's one damn fine camera. Well, that does it for this episode of Cheers to Gear. If you enjoyed it, subscribe if you aren't already. Tap the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload a new video. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Till next time, shoot to create.